How Steam became the only good monopoly in existence. So today I wanted to watch this video. I was literally thinking of video topics to do on my own, and I was going to talk about how Steam is one of the most goated businesses alive. And ironically, of course, no idea is original nowadays. So somebody already made the video. I was going to react to it for the first time. Watch the first like 2 minutes of the video. It seemed like it was going to be good, so I wanted to react to it live on stream. But dude, Steam, in my opinion, might actually be one of the best services that we have today, bro. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of monopolies. I'm a big fan of having multiple businesses that do the same thing because competition's good. You see what I'm saying? And like, for example, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of them, they all encourage each other by competition to do better. You see what I'm saying? But this is the one instance that I think that because Steam is a good company, I think this is the one time that I'd ever actually like to see every single company kind of consumed into one. Steam is just a really, really nice home to have every single game. The return policy is amazing. Oh my God, don't even get me started when somebody hacks your computer, bro. It is GG for whoever hacks your computer on Steam or whatever, bro. It is, yeah, it's just GG. But dude, Steam is one of the best customer supports that I've ever seen. It's just an actual overall good service, bro. And I wanted to see what this person had to say about it. I personally have no bad things to say about Steam. And let's just go ahead and get into it.
Steam shouldn't exist. Okay, hear me out for a second. It shouldn't. I'm definitely glad it exists. I use it like several times a week to buy and play games. And I have a good experience almost every time.
Yo, hold on. I'm sorry. We won't pause too quickly. We won't pause too crazy. But the fact that almost every good VR game is also on Steam, I just saw that on the screen for a split second. Oh my God, dude. Steam is so goated, bro. They need a Game Pass or something, bro. They straight up need a Game Pass. But anyway, moving on.
Definitely.
Wait. Last thing. The fact that indie game developers can launch their game on a popular platform, by the way, also really goated. All right, that was my last comment. Let's actually lock in.
Shouldn't exist. I mean, if I told you that there was a tech company that was founded in the 90s that controlled 70% of its market and that had basically zero meaningful competition.
Only 70?
And that the CEO owns a fleet of yachts so big that he needs smaller support yachts for the main one, you'd probably start thinking about guillotines and not video games. And yet this more or less perfectly describes Valve, the company responsible for Steam. It's basically impossible to name another tech company from that era that has a reputation that's half as good as Valve. And even just a quick Google search will show you a litany of admiration and good reviews for Gabe Newell, the founder.
Do we like how PlayStation and Xbox is running shit right now? Do we like that? What are our thoughts right now? Because I haven't had an Xbox or a PlayStation in a minute, bro. I only had a PlayStation in like the recent half decade, 5 years because of FIFA, bro. And now you can easily play FIFA on PC with other people off PC. But anyway, I'm very intrigued to see how Steam's new console comes out because that's going to blow everything out the water here. But I do really wonder what y'all think about, like, because I always never had anything bad to say about Xbox when I had one growing up. But anyway.
That very few people seem to talk about, say, Zuckerberg or Bezos. Valve and Steam have won at the game of capitalism, and they've effectively monopolized an entire business. And yet they are, at the same time, lauded as one of the best examples of a consumer-friendly product. And it makes no sense at first glance. So how did they do it? How did Steam beat capitalism without getting greedy? Valve Corporation is without a doubt one of the most important companies in all of technology. It was founded by two guys, Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington.
Why he look like that one actor? Hold up. Go back. They both look like actors. Hold on. Why does he look like an actor, bro? Who the hell does he look like? He looks like the guy from Friends, I think. Bro, doesn't he look like the guy from Friends? And then hold up, this guy looks like somebody too.
Guys, Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington.
No, not P. Diddy. Damn it, Chad. He looks like, is it Matt Damon? I don't even know, bro. He looks a little bit less like Matt Damon now that I paused it. But the other guy looks straight like the guy from Friends or whatever that is, bro. All right, moving on.
Who left Microsoft in 1996 to pursue a dream project, creating their very own video game from scratch. Their debut project was Half-Life. And it was so successful that it still is today considered one of the greatest video games of all time. Half-Life, Team Fortress, and Counter-Strike are all still incredibly popular series and have millions of players every day collectively. But after releasing several extremely popular games themselves, they noticed a few issues with the games industry. If you're a little older, you might remember a time when pirating a PC game was comically easy. Literally within a few days, you could get free software and bypassed most security measures.
I was born in 2000, so don't say I was there for this. Don't you dare.
And we saw the first wave of companies getting really desperate to put the lid on piracy. When Doom 2 was leaked weeks before its official release, their developer responded by banning any pre-launch reviews or external testing for their next game, Quake. The then vice president of marketing even announced that no copy of our games would leave the building. Except that game ended up also being leaked 3 days before its release. Some kid literally just broke into their network and downloaded the game in front of them, and they were so young that the company didn't even bother pressing charges. This state of affairs, though, wasn't all fun and games. The lack of security also made games way more prone to hacking and cheating, and it was super difficult for game developers to have a clean method to offer security and performance patches over the lifespan of the game. And this is where Steam came in. You see, Gabe Newell has a pretty famous take on piracy.
What's Valve's take on piracy?
So we don't really worry about piracy. There's misconceptions in the industry about what piracy is, that they don't want to pay any money and they want to get your content. But when you look at the fact that these people have, $2,000 PCs, clearly they're willing to spend money. Everybody in the United States knows that Russians are pirates. When the reality is that the pirates in Russia were actually doing a much better job than the games companies themselves. And as soon as the product became available at the same time that it was available in Australia or the UK or the United States, and it was localized in Russia, all of a sudden our piracy problems in Russia disappeared. Piracy is a result of bad service.
Low key, that's actually facts, bro. Because I hate paying for Netflix, I hate paying for Hulu, I hate paying for all of those just to watch one show, bro. It's so trash. And I don't mind paying for things on Steam, bro, because it's actually goated. Like, if you think about it, they add on so much extra service, bro. Because you can download like a whole bunch of mods and stuff. You can download like community maps on some games. Like, I was playing Tabletop Simulator the other day with the boys, bro. You could download so many like different maps and things and like different card games and stuff. It's really, really cool. So I agree with that, low-key. That was bars. I'm not gonna lie.
The whole idea behind Steam was to fix part of this service problem, to combine piracy protection, software updates, and anti-cheat technology all into one platform that was at least as easy to use as the pirate methods. The scope of the project expanded over time to not just include Valve's games, but other people's games and social and community features as well. And well, they kind of nailed it. Since launching in late 2003, Steam has accumulated over 100,000 games and now has over 40 million daily concurrent users. I think it'd be a stretch to call Valve a game developer like you might have in the 90s. Today, they're a retail business that occasionally develops games on the side. But still, even despite that...
Wait, what is the game that Valve made recently? Was it Valorant? Am I wrong in saying that? There was... Like way back in the day, I'm talking, dude, I'm showing my fucking age here, low key, even though this is not like a crazy thing to say. But like back in the day, bro, they used to, like, I used to remember loading up Spider-Man and there would be like a Sony logo, there'd be another logo, and they'd all be so iconic. And like same with like Black Ops back in the day and all that stuff, bro. It was legitimately like you could not see what the company was that made it. I think the only other game that I've ever seen recently that has the logo come up before it all loads in was, I think it's Valorant. And I think Valve had a big part in that. Am I wrong in saying that? Because Valorant's not on Steam, I don't think, right? Or is it now? I don't know. Either way, I don't like Valorant like that anymore. At least game pisses me off, but either way,
this has changed a lot since 2003, and Valve has followed such a drastically different path than the rest of the tech world, which recently announced that it was increasing prices of its Xbox Game Pass subscription service by 50 to 100% depending on where you are in the world. Or even Nintendo, which is selling $80 to $90 games. Meanwhile, Steam, on the other hand, has no subscription services, it has a weirdly generous return policy, and several extremely generous sales every year, when that's clearly not the established meta in gaming today. You won't find any reviews like this if you look up their competitors. People don't like wax poetic about the Epic Games Store or about EA Origin. And there are a few really good reasons why Valve behaves the way they do.
You know what?
And seem
You know what? I think I said at the beginning of this video that they should make a Game Pass. You know what? I think I'm low-key tripping. You know what? I'm not somebody who's usually stuck in my own ways, but they actually might be onto something, because I was actually just thinking about that as you said that. Like, Epic Games doesn't have a subscription thing, but like, I think EA definitely does. And EA's Game Pass is actually pretty decent because you get like every sports game and all that stuff. Like, that's fire. But I don't know, bro. I don't know. Like, they might be onto something with not having the service, because like all the games are mad affordable. Like Nintendo making their games $80 to $90. What are we doing? Oh my god, it pisses me off, bro. You're telling me I gotta pay like $80 for the next Pokemon game, which is already low-key kind of trash? Oh my god. It's a shame that all the EA games are pay to win, but like that, and also like, oh my god, like really what the EA Game Pass really does is just make the game affordable to then have to spend more money to be paid to win, bro. Like, what are we doing? Straight up, what are we doing, bro? Like, I swear to God. Maybe they're onto something with not having the Game Pass. I don't know. Maybe I heard somebody the other day said that they did have one, but I've never seen it. I don't know, bro. Look, bro. Steam's one of my favorite companies. They're doing it right, so I guess I'll just go kick rocks and play in traffic.
Seemingly nobody else does. Honestly, we can't talk about this story without acknowledging the elephant in the room. Every time we go online, there are companies that are tracking what we buy, where we live, and literally everything that we click on. Oftentimes, this data ends up in the hands of data brokers, companies that build massive profiles about you and sell them online to advertisers, scammers, and even background check websites. And you've likely never heard of a single one of these brokers before. That's where Incogni comes in.
Damn it!
Sponsored this video.
No! Wally saw that shit from a mile away. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I did not see that joint coming. I'm gonna be so honest. I did not see that coming. Holy shit. I was literally just about to say that I never gave this guy credit for the video, which we'll still do. But god damn it, we ain't giving credit to this goddamn company. Skip that shit.
So Valve is a weird company, but not just from the outside. While basically every major tech company from their era decided to become publicly listed on the stock market and solicit investment from the public, Valve has had a really quite different approach. They've remained completely private since being founded, and as a result, it can be hard to find out pretty much anything about how the company works, but some people have done their best to dig deep and get some information.
I'm not gonna lie, I really feel like that is the wave. Like, I feel like personally, like, I know you get a lot more funding and stuff like that, but like, you lose so much power when you open up your business to the stock market, bro. I seriously think it's got to be one of the stupidest things. And like low-key, all these Fortune 500 companies, of course, they're all basically open public companies. But like, I don't know, man. I personally think the second you open that joint, it's just GG. Like, I feel like the best example of that is FaZe, bro. I feel like that is the best example. And Zeno in chat said invest in Roblox stock. Yeah, you know what? I think you might be onto something, Zeno. I think you might be onto something. But anyway, that's besides the point, chat. I think it is low-key a good point to point out that I didn't realize that they never went public, bro. I actually never realized that. And I think Facebook is another example of that, bro. They went the whole like Facebook ads revenue, and they just went for like whatever makes the stockholders happy and all that stuff. Like just whatever makes them more money, bro. And at the end of the day, like these companies are so greedy. They don't need this much money, bro. Like Facebook, for example, you could only place one ad on my feed and still make so much money just by simply having that on the app, bro. Like you don't need 15. So it is low-key actually kind of crazy that all these companies just get so money hungry, bro. And I don't know. I guess that's the whole point of the video, but let's keep going.
The biggest advantage, first of all, of them being private is how they set goals. A public company like Meta has obligations every quarter. They have to announce and subsequently beat their earnings estimates. The share price has to keep going up, and even a small dip in revenues can be pretty disastrous for the future of a huge publicly listed company. The line has to keep going up, and the collective tech industry realized a while ago that the best way to do that is to acquire as many users as humanly possible, and then you start squeezing them for everything they're worth. You add in a subscription plan and you can get consistent monthly recurring revenue, which makes it easier to create these earnings estimates.
Yeah,
you can shoehorn in blockchain, cloud,
thing,
or AI, depending on what year it is, and you got another couple $100 billion of investment, easy peasy. And the strategy has worked so effectively for them. Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon are all literally trillion-dollar companies. Zuckerberg's platform has decided the results of elections, and Amazon brought in $640 billion in revenue in 2024. Even the most generous estimates put Valve's revenue at like 1 to 2% of a platform like Amazon. And that's a pretty big
That is so wild to think about, bro. Like, I talk about Elon's worth so much, bro. And I literally, in my 2026 prediction video, said that I think that he's going to be the first trillionaire, and he's going to do it this year, bro. It is so wild to think about the fact that these people have so much money. And I would have thought that low-key Steam had, or Valve at least, had way more money, but I don't know, bro. Bro said big Elon fan over here. No, the fuck you are not. Anyway, I don't know, bro. It is wild that I would have thought that they'd be worth a lot more. And it just, dude, it just shows how much more corrupt all these companies are, bro. Maybe not corrupt, but like how money hungry. Like, I didn't realize that Amazon was worth that much, but how is Elon's worth? I don't know, bro. The numbers just all don't make sense to me. I don't know, bro. But anyway.
Downside, if your goal is to make the biggest company on the planet or to become the most powerful person on the planet. But that's not the case at Valve. Being private offers a hell of a lot of benefits. You're only bound to the will of a handful of owners who can think on a much longer time frame, who can do stuff because
so true, bro. Last thing I'll say on this at least exact topic, like look at FaZe Clan, bro. Like, they at least claim that the business went way too public and all these people in charge bought out all the company and made it all not genuine, whatever. It's just so wild to me also. Like, I know that we have these programs and like ways of like making more money on like subscription services, etc. But like, why would you buy a company that is doing so well and want to change what they're doing, bro? Just let them do their thing. Like, that still baffles me. And I know that there's always a way to squeeze more, like even a penny out of a new customer, bro. But like, it just, dog, it will never make sense to me why you buy a company just to change it. And I'm definitely glad that Steam has stayed as a private company anyway.
I think it's a good idea. And they don't have to cater to whatever's trendy in the market just to keep their business solvent day to day. You'll actually notice that the Steam interface has barely changed since the original launch. There's no AI chatbot in there, and their changes operate under a whole different calculus, a whole different set of decision-making principles, since being relevant to Wall Street is just not a core part of their business model. They can focus their energy on changes that are actually worth doing, not ones that look like what the market wants to hear. And that philosophy has kind of permeated the entire company from top to bottom. A few years ago, a copy of their internal employee handbook leaked and revealed a lot of weird stuff happening inside Valve. Valve is a company where no one has a formal manager, projects are completely self-organized, and employees decide how they allocate 100% of their work time throughout the week. The handbook literally tells employees that they should only work on a project that they believe is important enough for them to work on. They have a section all about work-life balance, which directs newcomers.
I'm not gonna lie, productivity-wise, that is low-key kind of crazy. In my personal opinion, like, if I were to be somebody's boss, bro, I would probably be somebody that is a micromanager, etc. Like, I know that that's just how I am. I don't want to be, whatever. But, like, I feel like just doing it that way is just not the way. Like, I don't know, bro. You just get a whole bunch of people who are just, like, not working for the company. You see what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, this is still a business. And you got to respect the fact that these businesses are in it to make money, to then obviously get paid. Their employees get paid from that, etc. Like, I understand that. But, like, I don't know, bro. That's kind of a low-key crazy way to run a business, bro. But that's just my opinion.
Towards a specific employee that they can speak to if they need more encouragement to take time off. There's so much stuff in here that would never in a million years pass the approval structures of your average public company, where having power over people is kind of the point a lot of the time. Stuff like nobody has ever been fired at Valve for making a mistake, and working overtime for extended periods indicates a fundamental failure in planning at Valve. These things are pretty wild to see.
I mean, look, they're doing the right thing. And obviously, as somebody who obviously works at a job. Sorry, chat. My fault. I be saying slurs left and right nowadays, bro. That J word sometimes it slips, bro. It slips. The J 3-letter. Yeah. Anyway, but no, on a real note, bro. Like, that is the way that I feel like a company should be ran. Let me just say that before it seems like I'm like with the corporate people. But like, I feel like that is how a company should work. It's just very surprising when they actually do, because when you have little to no guidance on like what you should be doing, I feel like a lot of people take that and run. Like, I actually did see a TikTok recently where it's like, if you had unlimited time off, would you actually take the time off? Like, at least more than you thought? Probably not. Like, if you had unlimited, okay, this is gonna be a terrible example. I forget the example he used. Like, if you had unlimited money, would you keep spending it? But probably not. There'd be a point in which you'd stop using it, right? That's the overall point. Like, I understand the thought process. It's nice to give people the freedom. It's nice to give people like a job that actually makes them feel human. You see what I'm saying? I don't know.
Seen a corporate handbook, and clearly Valve has put a lot of thought into creating a company that actually does seem to get quite a lot out of its people, especially given how small it is. I've kind of been glazing these guys up until this point, all right? And in the world we live in, they're clearly not the worst tech bros out there. But it's important to remember one thing about Valve. It's not a charity, okay? It exists like literally every other company of this scale to make a lot of money. And it does that incredibly well. The CEO, Gabe, isn't suffering because of his choices. He hasn't sacrificed anything in the pursuit of this business model, right? He's got an armada of yachts and is currently building a $400 million super yacht, which is about the same price as a Boeing 747 passenger jet. And I don't know how many times you might need to hear this, but you don't get quite to this level without doing at least some degree of shady business. And Valve has not been immune from that. Honestly, the most important reason why Valve continues to operate the way it does is because it works incredibly well at making money. Their revenue per employee is higher than basically every other major tech company, and they just like print money with Steam, which is likely the reason why we've seen so few actual game releases. from a company that was created to release games. It makes a lot more.
Am I stupid for not realizing that Steam was owned by Valve? I've been saying this the whole time. I know that I'm fucking stupid for saying this, but I did not realize that. Like, I know they have said it like 5 times this video, and I don't know where the hell I've been, but I still did not realize that Valve owns Steam. Like, I don't know. I just thought Steam was its own company. Like, every fucking company has an umbrella company. Like, go look at what Pepsi owns, bro. Go look at what Pepsi owns. It is insane what Pepsi owns. I actually, like, I know that a lot of y'all prefer Coke, but dude, Pepsi, I'm pretty sure is the largest food company in the world, if you like Pepsi specifically or not. It is so wild what they own. So I guess it makes sense that Steam, of course, is under something else. Like Twitch, for example. Twitch is owned by Amazon, I think, now. So, like, you get what I'm saying. And there's always a bigger fish. But I don't know. It's so weird to me because I think about the fact that I think it was Valorant, bro. Like, you're telling me that Valorant is owned by the same company that owns Steam? It's just so weird to me. It's just interesting.
Other people's games and benefit from the upside of a successful hit and take little to no risk if a huge project flops on their platform. Even once you're aware of the main factors behind Valve's success, their unique corporate structure, their good leadership, focus on consumer experience and strong hiring, it can be a little difficult to understand why they haven't been dethroned yet, especially given that the competition collectively has access to trillions of dollars. Now, part of it is just that the PC market has grown year on year. It's so unbelievably cheap and easy to access the PC gaming world, especially compared to 2003. And while they've been able to achieve this level of growth without actually like seriously mistreating their consumers or their employees, they've not necessarily been as nice to everyone else involved in the game development process. As they've grown, the pressure that they've put on game developers and game publishers, especially the smaller ones, has been getting a little bit out of hand. So Steam takes a 30% cut of all sales through the platform, which is ludicrously high. For context, a website like eBay takes about 12 to 15%.
Let me give an unpopular opinion on that. It's like TikTok, bro. You are posting your content on a platform that has already a built-in audience. That is the built-in almost marketing alone, in my personal opinion. I think it's ludicrous that eBay charges like 12% because eBay, you're trying to do like a one-off sale. Like that, in my opinion, is how eBay should be used. I know people sell Pokemon cards on that joint all day long and like they're trying to make profit, etc. But like, to me, eBay was meant for like one-time purchases. Like, let's say I just don't want my PC anymore. I'm going to sell it on eBay, right? It's like Facebook. I see eBay as Facebook Marketplace. It should be fundamentally the same thing in my personal opinion. But Steam is very different. It is very different in my opinion. 30% is not crazy in my opinion. If you are an indie game developer, of course you want as much money as you can to make your next project. But if you're an indie game developer, like there's two sides to the spectrum, indie or AAA. Indie, you just want your game to be seen by people, and that's all you care about, right? And that's fine. So a 30% cut's not going to matter because this is a passion project for you anyway. So if you make any money on this, you should be happy. But that is why you post your game on Steam so that it actually gets seen by people because nobody else will ever see the game if it's not published on a big platform, which that's what Steam's for. Where the AAA companies, bro, they'll put the cost onto us, which is stupid. That's where the 30% sucks, is that we as customers get hit with that instead so that the AAA company can still make that money. But at the end of the day, bro, it's not that deep because those people aren't even worried about the 30% as much as they are just trying to get the game out. You see what I'm saying? And that, like, I know a lot of these companies save so much money by having their own platform, like EA having their games. I think FIFA is still low-key on Steam, but like having your own games on your own platform, of course, save money, but less people are going to know about it and less people are going to hear about it. And like, you see what I'm saying? Like this 30%, by not having to pay for a subscription to be a developer on Steam, that's pretty much what the cost is. And I feel like this is a very fair, like 30%, that's a lot. That is a lot. But I think it's fair because you're basically just paying for the marketing behind your game, bro. That's just my opinion.
While other game sale platforms take even less. Epic Games takes nothing on the first $1 million in sales. And even the famously generous Microsoft only takes 12% of sales on its store.
Okay. I feel like this is low-key still a little bit of a biased opinion because yes, that's cool. I didn't know that Epic Games didn't take anything on their first $1 million, but you also make the game on Epic Games. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe that actually is a little bit more crazy. If you built the game on Epic Games, they should be able to take more. I guess that's kind of the balance scale here. I know I'm doing 6-7 here, but you see what I'm saying? But like at the same time, like Zeno said, who is buying a game on Epic Games, bro? I think the only actually good games that I have on Steam, I think there are 3. And one of them is Fortnite, obviously. Rocket League, I think I have downloaded through Epic Games, maybe. even though I think I have it on Steam. No, I definitely have it on Steam. That's cap. I definitely have it on Steam. And then they just released Hogwarts Legacy for free for a week. Like, they're getting better free titles and launching that, but who is buying games on Epic Games, bro? Like, that is not what Epic Games is meant for. That is what Steam is meant for. Epic Games is more of a developer, in my opinion, where, like, Valve is more, like we're saying, a distributor. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's different goals here. So I feel like that's a little bit of an unfair assessment. But I don't know. In the Microsoft store, who's buying shit on there anyway? But you get what I'm saying.
This could take advantage of lower fees on other platforms to offer better prices to customers. If I was a game developer that needed to make $7 per copy sold in order to recoup my initial costs, then I could charge $10 on Steam as a minimum, since they take 30%. And I could charge, say, $7 on Epic,
getting hit with the cost,
since the first $1 million in sales has zero fees. Customers would get cheaper games, the devs would get the same amount of money. It's one of the clearest win-wins ever. Except that Valve is...
I'll say this. Sorry for cutting the video off so goddamn much. The difference is, right? Nintendo releases their games on their own platform, and they're still charging $80. Where you have to tax on a few more extra dollars to recuperate the 70 or the 30% that you're losing. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. Is you just make a little bit less on somebody else's platform, where Nintendo is charging $80 for their own game on their own platform, on their own console, which you had to pay an arm and a leg for in the first place. Like, Nintendo is the one that's greedy, and I hate that I'm a ride or die Nintendo fan. I really hate it, because I can't stand for the things that they do, even though I love their games. But that is what we should be calling ludicrous, not Steam, in my personal opinion. Like, that's the one disagreement I've had on this video so far. He persuaded me against the Game Pass idea, but I'm not with him on the percentage thing. But still, I respect the opinion. I see why people say that. But as somebody who studied marketing and business, that's my perspective.
Is well aware of this and forces developers to agree to what's known as a most favored nation clause in its agreements. An MFN, a most favored nation clause, basically means that a developer can't sell their game substantially cheaper elsewhere if it's also listed on Steam. It means that even if another platform cuts the fees that they take, the developers aren't allowed to pass on the savings from that deal to the end consumer. If a game is $10 on Steam, it has to be about $10 everywhere else. And very few games can survive without being on Steam, given that they have all of the customers. It's created a setup where Steam looks like the best deal, in part because it literally pressures developers and publishers to not offer a better deal elsewhere. And while most competitor platforms actually offer pretty generous deals to smaller developers, Steam does the opposite. Games that sell millions and millions of copies end up receiving a better split. This isn't because, I don't know, Activision needs the money, but it's because Valve understands as a company that the big developers are the ones who have the true bargaining power, the ones who could have significant impact if they tried to leave.
Yes, like, that is literally, and I'm not gonna act like Twitch does a whole bunch of stuff great. And like, you would think that it would be opposite, in my opinion. Like, the smaller streamers should get a bigger payout to encourage them to keep going. Like, no. What, like, you have to think about, again, like he's saying, bargaining power. What are you bringing to this company, bro? Because at the end of the day, it's still taxing on Steam to deliver your small product versus a larger product. You see what I'm saying? Like, what do they get out of it? You have to understand that, like, people just get pissed off when they don't get their way. And people don't understand that this is a two-way thing. And although a lot of these companies are greedy, they still have to get something out of this. They're not going to just do something for you just to be nice, because they're in it to make money, bro. And again, this is where I probably differ from a lot of people, where I have the business mindset and I tend to root for the business most of the time. But that's the thing, bro. People just think that they should just be given shit for free. And that's just not how it should be, bro. So I think that if you're worth more money to the company, and like he's saying, the bargaining power, that is why I think that the higher the company is, the less that they should get charged for it. And that also, on these AAA games that everyone's going to buy, will make it, in theory, cheaper, because they're getting charged less from Steam. So to me, it's a win-win, bro. To me, it's a win-win, again, because these indie developers shouldn't really care about the money as much. Whereas, you see what I'm saying? They should be caring more about player count, which is what Steam is for. So I know I drilled that home 15 times, but I just cannot stress that enough.
By offering them these generous deals, they encourage them to stay on Steam from day one. Indie developers who sell 50, 100, or even 10,000 copies of a game don't have a fraction of the bargaining power. And so there's no need to offer them a better deal.
Stardew's so
I mean,
good,
this
bro.
is like clearly pretty anti-competitive if you ask me. But from a marketing and PR sense, it's actually genius. Steam always ends up having the best price possible on its platforms. The customers always get what looks like a reasonable deal. And Valve doesn't bear any responsibility if a game ends up being more expensive than the public expected. The blame falls squarely on the developers. Meanwhile, other platforms can't easily compete on price and have to compete on other things, which is why you see exclusive releases as a method of competition. But people hate having to download a whole separate app to play one game because it's annoying and it feels anti-competitive. It feels like the wrong way to compete in this space. And by the way, I'm not like pretending that the Epic Games Store is like some pariah of the gaming industry, okay? They would definitely be doing the same shit if they could, right? They're just annoyed that they can't. They're actually really annoyed that they can't because the CEO of Epic Games has been on this warpath for many years now. And the reality is their app is not the best, not just because of these anti-competitive practices that they're subject to, but also because the Epic Games Store is not very good. And many of these alternatives are just not very good to use. They can be buggy and laggy, while Steam ultimately at the end of the day provides
oh my god, chat. Zeno just said in chat, I forgot they have crazy sales all the time. They seriously have like a back to school one. They have a winter sale near Christmas. Bro, I forgot about all their sales. Like this guy, I know he's really not caring too much about the price thing, but just to like, let's bring it home one more time. Dude, the prices are actually, this is like the one platform that I feel like it is fair, the pricing, bro. Like I can buy a $5 game that is better than a AAA game that I've ever played. Like, and then on top of that, you get a sale, which most, like 90% of the games are on sale, and they'll email you all the time when the games are on sale. And I feel like I get emails from them all the time. It's the one company I actually want to get emails from, bro. Oh my days, bro. Well, what is Man of the House? Wait, hold up. Y'all just find a fire game? Man of the House? Oh, never mind. I was like, hold up, what is that? That is funny, bro. I thought y'all just got a fire game wreck out this video. Oh my days.
Very functional service. The point that I'm actually making here is that Steam has monopoly power in this market. And they're using this power to do what all private monopolies always end up doing, restricting consumer choice and restricting competition. Until recently, Apple did a very similar thing. They'd take 30% of all in-app purchases that were done on Apple devices. Apps were literally not even allowed to tell their users that Apple was just taking 30% of the money and that you could sign up through Google Chrome or whatever.
All right, that's a problem. You should be fully transparent with what you're taking from people. I'm just going to say that. I don't really want to fight on what percentage people should be taking, but you should at least be fully transparent and telling people before they even ask. And that's the problem that I have with most businesses, is that you find out later, and that just makes ripping the Band-Aid off so much worse. See what I'm saying?
For a discount. Apple wasn't taking this 30% fee because they were providing some amazing extra service when you bought your Fortnite V-Bucks. They did it because, much like Steam, they have completely unreasonable levels of control over the mobile app market, and they can get away with it. And it was a major legal issue until earlier this year when a long-standing lawsuit forced Apple to let developers offer alternate payment methods with lower fees. And in my opinion, this is basically identical to what Steam does in gaming. Except they were smart enough to realize that they needed to keep the biggest publishers on side, and they couldn't push it too far. Instead of trying to get 30% out of literally everyone, like Apple did, they made it an explicit point to offer more generous deals to the bigger clients. And again, let me remind you, Steam is actually a pretty good service, right? It mostly just works, but that doesn't mean it's not also holding an unfair market position. And it's no surprise that Valve are actually currently facing a class action lawsuit from a group of developers who allege exactly this. And they brought receipts. An economist quoted in the lawsuit even estimated that in a properly competitive environment, Steam wouldn't take more than like 17 to 18% of sales, as opposed to 30%. This is literally billions of dollars that would end up back in the hands of developers. It's not like chump change. And I think we let Valve and Steam off for a lot of this behavior because they're often seen as like a neutral middleman who only exists to make the process of gaming smoother. And they do that, but they do a lot more too. When I began looking into Valve as a company, I quickly found out that they have some pretty important issues that they're yet to solve. Despite the fact that they give employees tons of freedom to decide what they work on, their staff rarely stay as lifelong Valve employees. One analyst even said that, "I've not met anybody who had a career there. They last long enough to make money, but the developers that I've known there have left for greener pastures because the company doesn't publish games." But you'll notice that Valve hasn't actually completely given up on games, and the ones they've decided to keep tell us a lot about.
Is it CS? Maybe it's not Valorant, it's CS. Oh, I'm stupid. That would make so much more sense. Oh my days, I'm stupid for that. They might have even said that in this video, but I swore that it was Valorant too. I'm definitely capping. That's
Valve's thinking. Once upon a time, they were really best known for single-player experiences, games where you pay once and you had all of the content. However, ever since the release of Team Fortress 2, an online multiplayer shooter, they realized you didn't need to make new games to make money. You needed to make more money from the games you'd already created. And thus was born the microtransaction. Instead of concepting, researching, and developing a whole new game, why not just sell cheap items that add on to an existing game? But the real genius wasn't selling like cheap collectibles and letting people buy them. It was letting people gamble for them. In 2010, Valve launched the Supply Crate, an in-game item for Team Fortress 2, which allowed you to receive a random in-game cosmetic item. Except to receive the item, to unlock the crate, you had to purchase a key with real money. Basically, you paid a small amount of money for the chance to receive an item that was worth potentially hundreds or thousands of dollars, or potentially an item worth nothing. This is the infamous loot box. And shock horror, it turns out